Welcome to
Retro Revisit, the series where I attempt to play through every game possible on my favorite childhood consoles. The only rule? If I like a game, I have to commit to beating it before reviewing it, and if it doesn't catch my interest, I still have to play a few hours to identify what I like and dislike about it. Today, we're starting our journey on the Nintendo 64. With roughly 297 games available in the US, I figured the best way to tackle them would be A through Z, but before diving into the alphabet, we have to start with the numerical titles, beginning with 007, The World Is Not Enough. Released in 2000, with big shoes to fill, 007 The World Is Not Enough, developed by Eurocom and published by Electronic Arts, immerses players into the world of James Bond as a first-person shooter. Tied to the Bond movie of the same name, it aims to deliver an engaging spy experience with a mix of stealth, action, and gadgetry, following the massive success of GoldenEye 007, one of, if not the greatest FPS games in history. It was met with high expectations, but did it live up to its predecessor? Let's dive in. The game follows the storyline of the film, where Bond is tasked with protecting an oil heiress and uncovering a plot involving a stolen nuclear weapon. The story is broken up into small missions, lasting about 10 to 15 minutes each, taking players through various locations inspired by the movie. The writing and dialogue capture the essence of a Bond adventure, filled with espionage, intrigue, and witty banter. Although it sticks closely to the film's plot, the game adds depth through its mission briefings and character interactions. It's impressive to see how well the cutscenes and dialogue hold up in such an old game. It is worth noting that I had both this game and GoldenEye as a child, but I could never get past the first mission because I couldn't grasp the concept of using the gadgets. I would just end up failing and looping the first mission, shooting and terrorizing everyone in the bank. So experiencing this story as an adult had me feeling like I was playing it for the very first time. 007 The World Is Not Enough features classic first-person shooter mechanics, focusing on both action and stealth. The controls are intuitive, with responsive movement and aiming. Given the limitations of only having one analog stick and a limited set of buttons, I couldn't imagine a better way of mapping out the controls, to be honest. It just works, and plays well 90% of the time. My only gripe is that the analog stick can be a little bit sensitive when you're aiming down the crosshair, but I got used to it about a quarter of the way through the story. Players can use a variety of weapons and gadgets, from pistols and rifles to night vision goggles and grappling hooks. The learning curve is moderate, with gameplay rewarding strategic thinking and careful planning, especially in the more challenging later missions. James Bond is the star of the show, with his suave personality and resourcefulness shining through. Other main characters, including all the villains and allies from the movies, are well represented, adding depth to the story. Notable NPCs include M and Q, who provide mission briefings and gadgets respectively, which is a huge upgrade from the last game. The AI behavior is competent, with enemies posing a fair challenge without feeling overly difficult. But the levels in the campaign are well crafted, offering a balance between exploration and linear progression. Each level presents unique challenges and puzzles, requiring players to use their gadgets and wits to advance. The design encourages replayability with hidden areas and alternative paths to discover. Environmental storytelling is a strong point, as levels are rich with details that enhance the narrative. Two of the missions that stood out to me the most were Cold Reception and Night Watch. In Cold Reception, you're skiing down a mountain, blowing up towers, and shooting enemies while being chased by foes on snowmobiles. The controls, environment, and energy were nearly perfect in that mission, and the seamless transition between skiing and shooting enemies was exhilarating, and the mission felt incredibly unique, something rarely found in modern titles. And Night Watch, on the other hand, was one of the most challenging but ultimately the most enjoyable missions of the whole story. This stealth mission requires sneaking around guards, disabling surveillance, and photographing documents. It can be really tedious at first learning where the guards and the cameras are, but I felt like it was the perfect blend of Hitman and Splinter Cell elements. These two standout missions among the roster of excellent ones contribute to an overall amazing story mode. And for an N64 title, this game has some seriously impressive visuals. With detailed character models and diverse environments, the levels range from snowy landscapes to underwater bases, each designed with a distinct aesthetic. While the graphics may seem dated by today's standards, they effectively immerse players in the Bond universe and hold up exceptionally well. The frame rate is generally stable, although it can dip during the intense action sequences from time to time, but that's understandable and isn't game-breaking. The sound design enhances the experience too, featuring iconic music and sound effects that fans will recognize. The voice acting, while limited, adds authenticity, with character voices that match their film counterparts. The soundtrack captures the cinematic feel of the series with the standout tracks that elevate key moments in the game. However, the main theme song that everyone knows isn't in the game, and I didn't even notice it till after I even beat the game. Regardless, the audio effectively complements the on-screen action and creates an engaging atmosphere. And even with The World Is Not Enough lacking some of the iconic multiplayer features from its prequel like the Golden Gun or Odd Jobs hat, it still offers such a solid local multiplayer experience. Players can engage in split-screen battles with an expansive variety of weapons, match types, and maps to choose from. The multiplayer component, though not revolutionary, provides additional replay value and fun for friends. I spent dozens of hours with my childhood best friends during my elementary school years playing the multiplayer in this game, and even if you don't have friends to play it with, the game has the option to include bots in your matches, making the multiplayer feel even more full and action-packed. Overall, 007 The World Is Not Enough is a worthy successor to GoldenEye 007, delivering a solid Bond experience with engaging gameplay, a captivating storyline, and impressive visuals for its time. I would argue with many to say it may have surpassed the legendary status of its predecessor in a few ways, and it stands out as a notable entry in the N64 library. The game's strengths lie in its faithful adaptation to the film, varied level design, and satisfying mechanics. Despite some minor dated flaws, it offers a good value for the money and remains a nostalgic trip for the fans of the franchise. I give this game a 5 out of 5. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm always taking recommendations on what game I should play next, and until next time, I'll see you in the next one.